This lecture provides an overview of latitude and longitude at a very basic level. It's meant really kind of as a refresher or to just introduce basic concepts in case you've forgotten how the latitude and longitude system works. First of all, keep in mind that the geographic grid which forms the latitude and longitude system is a part of our concept of absolute location. In other words, this is the type of location where we are looking to pinpoint a location at an exact position on the Earth's surface. First of all, latitude is simply the angular distance north and south of the equator. This is a very simple definition. I encourage students to use this one because it's the easiest to remember, and don't get latitude confused with parallels. Parallels are the lines connecting points of the same latitude. So we can see a diagram here that shows lines of latitude or parallels on the Earth. And so starting with the equator, we have a line every 15 degrees in this particular case, and it basically connects points of equivalent latitude, and latitude ranges between 0 degrees at the equator and 90 degrees at the North Pole, 0 degrees at the equator and 90 degrees at the South Pole. Angular distance means that we're basically imagining if we have an arc that we show to represent the globe, and we could bisect that arc and run an angle from the center of the globe out to the land surface. What would that angle be? That position where it intersects on the surface of the Earth would be the latitude reading. And so another way of looking at this in terms of the actual inclination of the Earth at 23.5 degrees shows us how the concept of angular distance works, as well as, again, an example of parallels of latitude. In terms of longitude, longitude is just the angular distance east and west of the prime meridian. So latitude, angular distance north and south of the equator, and longitude, angular distance east and west of the prime meridian. Meridians, then, are lines connecting points of the same longitude. The development of latitude was much simpler than the development of longitude. And this is because latitude starts at the 0 degree point, which is halfway between the North Pole and the South Pole, and this is what forms the equator. Well, we don't have anything like that in terms of distances east and west, and so through history, many different countries and different cultures have had their own system of longitude. Going all the way back to the ancient Greeks, people began to seek out some kind of way to put the known world on a grid system, and so many different countries developed their own measurement system for a prime meridian or a starting point to measure distances east and west. In the end, what happened was that the world settled on using the British system, so the prime meridian runs right through the Greenwich Observatory in Greenwich, England, which is just east of London, and that connects the North and South Pole, and it divides the world into an Eastern Hemisphere and a Western Hemisphere. But this is entirely a cultural construct, and as I mentioned, other countries had their own system of longitude at some point in the past. For example, when Washington, D.C. was being developed, Thomas Jefferson had proposed a longitude system that would base a prime meridian that would run through Washington, D.C. The French had their own longitude system running through Paris. The Chinese had their own longitude system running through China as well. And so you can see over time, the world had to basically decide on one kind of standard in order to measure distances east and west. So here we can see longitude meridians and the prime meridian running through the Greenwich Observatory. So distances to the east of that line are degrees east, and distances to the west are degrees west until they reach the 180 degree meridian, which is at the antipole, or the opposite side of the world. Latitude and longitude can be measured either using degrees, minutes, and seconds, or decimal degrees. The decimal degrees system is a much simpler way to do this. So in this case, looking at the second example, 40 degrees, that is 40.7127 degrees north and 74.0059 degrees west, would be the location of Roosevelt Island in the East River, just to the east of Manhattan Island in New York City. Compared to the system of writing the same location using degrees, minutes, and seconds, where 1 degree equals 60 minutes and 1 minute then equals 60 seconds, 40 degrees, 42 minutes, 45 minutes north and 74 degrees, 0 minutes, 21 seconds west. So given with GIS, we can do lots of conversions very easily with GIS software, and there are online tools that will do this as well if you need to do it using maps. But the preference today typically is to use decimal degrees for most latitude and longitude measurements. And that concludes the brief discussion of latitude and longitude.